In this session, we will look at part 2 in our series on online course design. And in this session, we'll particularly be focusing on the online course planning template that we use at Makerere University for planning the blended courses that we upload on the MUELE, the Makerere University e-learning environment. And as you can see on the screen here, this is our planning template. And as we heard in our part 1, it's important to plan a course really on paper before you deliver it or before you offer it. Planning helps you to take care of so many things that you probably wouldn't have done if you just went ahead to begin developing a course or simply uploading or going to class to teach. So whether it's a traditional course or it's an online course you're developing, planning is as important as it can get. Now we chose to develop and use this planning template for our online courses. It's in two parts. At some point, I'll show you the other planning template that we use for the weekly activities. So this template, as you can see it here, has about 13 columns here. And each column, I'll be explaining each column as we go along. So the first column here is the unit number. And normally when we are developing our courses, you can develop your course or divide it in units, or you can use modules, or you can use topics. But we have chosen to divide our course in units. We've chosen to use the term units here. So we have unit 0, unit 1, unit 2, depending on the size of your course. So the first column here is for the units. So as you can see, this goes on up to unit 12 down there. And then our unit 2, as you can see, unit 2 here is for sequencing. You have your topics or you have your units or modules, but you probably will be delivering the content of those units probably in weeks. So you have unit 0, you say you'll deliver it in week 1. Unit 1, you'll be delivering it in week 2. Unit 2, you'll be delivering it in week 3. So that's the kind of sequencing. So you divide your units into the weeks that you will be delivering them. Then column 3 here is the unit number and title. So if week 1 I'm doing unit 0, then I put a title. So the title for unit 0 in this case is course familiarization, because before we normally get into full swing to teach the content of the course, it's important to give the students a week within which to make themselves familiar with the learning platform, make themselves familiar with the course and the expectations of the course, make themselves familiar even with their fellow learners and the teacher. So it's important to plan for that. If you let students go straight into the content of the course, they'll find difficulty. It's worse when you're working online. If the students do not get to familiar themselves with technology, to socialize with their fellow learners, then they feel lonely. So that's important to take care of in the planning for your course. And so each unit, you give it a unit title and the number. Unit 1, definition and communication process. Unit 2, methods and importance of communication, according to what you're teaching or the subject you're dealing with. Then column number 4 in our planning template, in our online course planning template here, will be to link your units to the overall course learning outcomes. As we mentioned in part one, the principles of course design, we said you set overarching goals for the course, but you also set learning outcomes for each unit, objectives for each unit, what you want to achieve, what you want your students to know or learn or to have achieved at the end of each unit. So when we are planning, we have to link each unit to the overall course learning outcomes. So each unit has its own outcomes or objectives, but the unit links to an overall or an overarching outcome of the course. So you want to link that so that at the end of the day, you're able to check, am I working towards achieving the overall learning outcomes of the course? Or is my unit, linked to my overall learning outcomes? So you have to say unit 1 links to learning outcome 1, maybe unit 2 links to learning outcome 1 and 2, or unit 3 maybe links to learning outcome 1 of the overall learning outcomes of the course. So it's important to take care of that in the planning process. Column number 5 here takes care of the specific learning outcomes of the unit. For example, in my unit 1 here, which deals with the definition and communication process, I say by the end of this unit, you should be able to 1, define communication, 2, describe the communication process. So here you spell out clearly the learning outcomes for that unit according to the level of complexity of your unit, something that should be achievable, SMART, outcomes. So that's unit or column 5 here that deals with the unit learning outcomes. Then column number 6, you have to state the purpose of that unit. In unit 1, what's the purpose of unit, rather week 1 and unit 0? What's the purpose of that unit? What's the purpose of unit 1? What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? What do you want the students to understand or to know or to be mindful about as they go through each of the units? So you have to write the purpose of each unit in the sections against the unit. When the students read the purpose, it helps them to define their learning path. It helps give them signs and directions that they should take, what they should be mindful of as they go through each unit. And then our column number 7 is preparatory research. We're saying at least you give 2 leads, and the preparatory research may also include a mini lecture. Now, preparatory research is what you'd like the students to read to prepare themselves as they get into that topic or they get into that unit or the contents of that module. It could be just guiding them and directing them to readings, maybe articles that they could read that gives them a good foundation to deal with the aspects of that particular unit. So you would have to type that out and say, for example, if they need to go through unit 1, they could at least watch a video or listen to a certain audio lecture about that, and you make sure that you add the links to those articles or those videos or those audios that you want them to go through and to prepare them for the activities and the tasks of that unit. So that is what we call the preparatory research in this case. It's important. And then we have our column 8 is the e-tivities. Now, e-tivities, the E stands for electronics. So those are electronic activities or online activities. We call them e-tivities, but that's what they are. What activities, what tasks would you like the students to complete as part of the unit to enable them to achieve the learning outcomes for the unit. Now, when we are working online, it's important to have these activities because that's what helps the students to learn. Going through those activities, going through those tasks is part of the learning process in an online course. So you need to think through the activities for each unit according to the level of complexity. Activities or e-tivities that engage the students in their learning. And when you design or develop those e-tivities, they should be clear enough. Clarity of the instructions, the delivery of the final output, the timelines, what tools will the students be using to complete those e-tivities. For example, could it be a discussion forum? Could it be completing a quiz? Could it be submitting a completed assignment into the assignment space? So you have to think through the e-tivities for each of the units as you work through the units, and you have to be mindful of the number of e-tivities that you add. That's about the pacing as well. Depending on the time that you have for the course, you have to be mindful about that. So that's what we call the e-tivities, the learning activities and tasks that the students work through and complete as part of the learning process in the course. Then column number 9 here is the tutor intervention. In an online course, it's expected that the tutor will moderate the course. You will intervene in guiding the students through their learning, guiding them through the resources, commenting on their work, giving feedback on the work that the students have done, giving them direction as they work through your course. So it's important that for each unit, you mention in writing how the tutor will intervene. It's important that the students know upfront how the tutor intends to intervene. For example, you will say, in this unit, the tutor will read the students' comments and will post their feedback every 2 days or every 7 days or every day. It depends on how the time that you have to moderate your course. But that tutor intervention is important. The students need to know upfront exactly what the tutor will be doing to guide the students through the course. It's a motivation for the students as well. Now, in this third last column, link to other units, we think it's important that you mention in this template how each unit links to other units, because those linkages are important, because then the students can know that, okay, what I covered in unit 1 has a link to unit 5, and they can begin to try to find that link. And the process of trying to make those linkages, learning happens. In the second last column here, time to complete unit activities. In an online course, it's important that this is given upfront. How much time do you expect that the students need to complete each of the activities that you will have given? So you mentioned that time for each unit. Is it 30 minutes for that activity? Is it 1 hour? Is it 45 minutes? Is it 2 hours? The students need to know that. And in our last column here in our online course planning template, summaries of deadlines. Again, you need to give a summary of the deadline that for week 1 activities, we expect that you would have submitted them by a certain date, by 15th of July 2019. So the summaries of the deadlines need to be extremely clear as you work through the course, as you plan for the course. That's extremely important for the students. So for this part 2 in our online course design process, we have looked at the online course planning template, and I hope this template can be useful to any instructor planning an online course.